Isn't this wonderful? We're so glad you're here. We thought that they might have actually named the section. So you want to be a Leah Meyer Austin Award winner. I bet we have a whole lot of winners in this room, and we're very humbled to be here sitting with you and your fabulous institution. I think it was Rachel Singer who first labeled Patrick Henry Community College as the little community college that can. We want you to understand where we drove the stake in the ground. I see Ted Farnsworth there, keep me straight. Around one school. It's interesting that Patrick Henry Community College, this was faculty-led, and it has been faculty-driven. And I think one of the things we understand as the leadership team at the college, our job is to make sure that we feed and nurture that and do what we have to do. I consider myself to be the professional beggar of Patrick Henry Community College and the warrior too, to fight the battles, beg for the money, and try to continue to smooth out the ripples that our college may have and the challenges that it may actually have. This shows you a little bit about our community, our service area. We have the highest unemployment in Virginia and have had that now 6, 7 plus years, actually going on a decade. But what you need to know that there was an era in the 1945 to 60s in which Martinsville, Virginia was the richest community in the Commonwealth of Virginia. More millionaires per capita, and the home of almost any furniture. Go to your hotel room. Dr. Westover does this everywhere we travel. She pulls out the drawers. Her father was a furniture designer for American Furniture. It was probably made or designed in Martinsville, Virginia at some point in time. So it just goes to show us, because we're community colleges, when the temper of our colleges change, when in any shape and way that they may change, we have to mold and morph and change to them. And I think that is the heart of what Achieving the Dream is all about. That we have the courage and we have the wherewithal that whatever it throws at us, we respond, because our number one obligation are to our students. It is our mantra of our keeping our students first. And no matter how many awards we win, and no matter how many, don't y'all look like a county fair show pony up here? No matter how many ribbons we have around our neck, if our students are not successful, it is all in vain. It is not what we're here to do. So our dynamics can change. Very successful, but now unemployment. But the poverty of our community, I want you to listen to this. Their suffering was our gain. And that's tough too. But when the classrooms were full beyond capacity, and when the registration lines were wrapped around the building, and we couldn't find or beg, and I've only been there 2.5 years, so I'm telling you about what I've been in training, and I understand the dynamics. Because we benefited when a community suffered with job loss, extreme poverty, the Trade Act. Many of you know what the Trade Act was. People who really, they came to college for the right reason, the wrong reason. Coming to college was a way in lieu of a paycheck. It put bread on the table. And most of our furniture and textile workers, their educational level was about at the 8th grade. So they had already jumped many hurdles to get to us. And then the Virginia Employment Commission told them what they could take and how long they had to take it. And it was the only way they could continue to get a benefits check. That's the reality. So, no program and no project and no short-term, quick fix, the flavor of the day education would work. And if you don't ever hear anything else anyone has said at this conference, Achieving the Dream is not a program. It is not a project. It is not a cutesy little initiative. It's the fluoride in your water. is how you change everything you do, the way you think about everything. It is complete change. It's like the blood that flows through our veins. We call it the DNA of our institution. We had a pretty heavy administrative turnover. Our president had been there for 34 years. I'm only the third president of the college. We've gone through a host of new vice presidents. And we had a generation in which, in fact, in our city public school system, which has lost over 50% of its population, 17% of those children in that city school system have never had any parent or any adult in their home to have ever had a job. 17% have never had a single job. So that is an entire cultural issue, but it's our issue. And so for those of you, and I think what's so beautiful about this is you have a large, powerful institution like the Community College of Baltimore County, and you have a small little institution in rural Virginia, like Patrick Henry Community College. And we had the opportunity together to embrace a challenge, because the challenges are great, no matter small, large, whatever, and to work systemically over years. It's an iterative process to make a difference. And that's really what this award is all about. I do encourage you to do a couple things. I encourage you to learn to tell your stories and to capture them every day for yourselves. I can't imagine, we have some of our faculty here who've been on this from the beginning. They've been in the firing line from the beginning. And they have been trying to move the needle. Move the needle with sometimes just a piece of thread. And that is heavy lifting and tiring work. It's why it's almost as much of a ministry as it is a career that they continue to do it. You need to learn to tell your stories for yourselves, because it's tiring. And sometimes we do great initiatives that we really put so much energy and we barely can see the needle tipping. So learn to tell the story. And I think that's what this award does. It helps to capture the story. Very much faculty-led, Our goal was 100%. Everybody, every faculty member.
I didn't do that. I'm positive I didn't do that to her.
You just want to know what I remember was on that time. It had to be 100%. And here's the focus. Our focus was pedagogical, cooperative learning, every faculty member trained, every faculty member measured and evaluated on the infusion of cooperative learning. And Grace's going to tell you a little more about cooperative learning. And in our adjuncts, and it became a part of what we did. As I mentioned this morning in one of our sessions, and the data, the Achieving the Dream data became the driver. We have a data summit at our college. If you don't have one, I encourage you to go home and do it. It'll be a little painful the first year. It'll be priceless after then, which everybody gets to share their data. And I think in the first years, it was completely an Achieving the Dream data set. Today, thanks to Jackie and Kent and our Achieving the Dream drivers that helped us so much, it is really, you people sign up early. I mean, we fill up the roster. They want to get up and talk about their data, even if the data shows where we're failing, even if the data shows where we're not being successful. Because once you put the data on the table, it becomes a part of everybody's challenge, but it also becomes a part of everybody's victory. And we're finding these collisions of thinking where it's almost like a crime scene. You know, that little spot over there, and that little spot over there, and that little spot over there, and this little item over here. And individually, they look so innocent and maybe not related. But when you get people who care, who have really passion, this is our life's work. This is what we're on this earth to do. You put them together with the data, and magical things happen. You can start figuring out things you could not figure out before. We have expanded. It was the heart of our Catalyst Fund to take this to the distance learning environment. I'm very proud that the administration got on board from the beginning. Our job is to make sure this work is secure and moves forward. And about 2 years ago, shortly after I got there, we had a real budget revelation. We've lost 27% of our enrollment. Our state funding, as many of you know, has plummeted. We were almost 70% in like 2008, and we're like 38%. And some of you are saying, I'd love to have 38%. Be glad to do that. We've gone from being state funded to state assisted, and we're moving on to state located. But I'm so proud that our vice presidents and deans, realizing that our faculty was carrying such a heavy burden, they had taken the hits of retirements and downsizing and layoffs, that we had taken such hits, that our administration, our vice presidents and deans stepped up and said that they would, at no additional pay, they're all teaching at least one class per semester. Now that's done two things, and I'm not suggesting that for everybody. But in our college, number one, it changed the conversation. It's not about your students in your class, it's about our students in our classes. And we understand better the heavy load that our faculty, students with so many challenges have. And it's not just their academics, we know it's everything. From lunch money to how am I going to get to school? All those other life complications. I just say that to say this, that leadership has nothing to do with your title. It's the least important thing. We started a strategic leadership cabinet. We meet 10 times a year. It's first come, first served. The first 15 people, I don't care if you mow the grass or you're the vice president of something. I don't care what your job is. And for about 2 or 3 hours, 30 hours over the course of the year, we talk about leadership. And we have a presidential student leadership cabinet. And every Friday morning, we have a group of students in the office, and they're talking about how do we lead the other students on this campus? How do we lead ourselves in this community? What can we do? We need that desperately in our community. We will not survive really without it. But here's the most magic part. The little college that can has now trained over 120 colleges in the last 4 years. So, if you're doing wonderful things in your little town, in your little college, in your little part of the world, you need to get that light out under that bushel and go tell other people about it. It would be wonderful. All the fabulous things our SCORE Institute team and all these wonderful faculty and folks at Patrick Henry, it would be wonderful they did it just in Martinsville, Henry County, Patrick County, in Southern Virginia. But the fact that it's touched the whole country is priceless. And I'm so proud that we trained between Baltimore County and Baltimore, your college, trained us. Now that is very powerful. I'm going to let Greg tell you about all the really important stuff. But we're honored to be here. Greg Hodges, he is really a leader among all leaders for us, and we're really so privileged to have him here. He's known among all the Achieving the Dream circles as being the guy that just gets it done.
Thank you, Dr. Godwin. I also, yes. In addition to my work at college, I pastor a church, and I have this innate need now to bring the usher down and pass the plate around this meeting. I know you think she was